Elder Dragons. What are Elder Dragons? Not a miserable pile of secrets, I hope. Is this an Elder Dragon? And how about this one? And what's the deal with this one? This a bloody horse. There's nothing in Dragon at all about this bloody unicorn. Monster Hunter is a game about hunting monsters, and one of the things you must eventually hunt are the Elder Dragons. But what exactly are Elder Dragons? Well, if you truly must know, Elder Dragon is a classification for monsters that simply don't fit the criteria to be called as anything else. Not only that, they can wreck or severely damage an entire ecosystem just by simply being there. Case in point being the Kushala Daora, whose presence is akin to the storm itself. This translates well into the game as one of the most annoying ability ever given to a singular monster in the entire series, the dreaded Wind Aura. My god.
So does the pickle counts as an Elder Dragon too?
What?
The pickle. Considering that you know, he can greatly affects the entire ecosystem if left unchecked by devouring everything it sees.
Well, actually...
How about the fact it can somewhat stand toe-to-toe against an actual Elder Dragon?
Wait, wasn't that a savage DEVILJHO?
Just answer the damn question.
Fine. The answer is simply no. The DEVILJHO is classified as a brook wyvern because that is simply what it is. Its whole physiology isn't that unique. Many other brook wyverns share the same physiology as it does, and the nail on the coffin being that it fights exactly like one will think when they hear the word brute. In short, it's just the muscle. That's literally what DEVILJHO is. What it lacks is simply the intelligence to use their muscles with. You see, there's a reason why they are classified as Elder Dragons and not just simply dragons. They are old enough to witness the rise and fall of quite a few civilizations. Hell, some even are the cause of it. With old age comes wisdom, as they say. This rings especially true with the Elder Dragons, even with one as brutish as the Nergigante was. One doesn't simply live to the ripe old age with merely brute strength after all. They will need to be cunning as well, especially when there are other predators on the same food chain. So what qualify any of these creatures as an Elder Dragon? Do they have to be smarter than those pesky 5th grader? Do they have to possess unimaginable power and be an absolute bastard with it too? The answer to that is simply a big fat no! Surprisingly, you don't need to possess high intelligence or even have reality-bending powers to be designated as such. In actuality, it's a far simpler requirement. Remember what I said in the beginning of the video? Well, let me expand on that a bit further. You see this giant squid floating in the sky? It's called the Yamasukami, a floating squid-like Elder Dragon introduced way back from Monster Hunter 2, and one we haven't seen ever since the release of Freedom Unite. Now let me quickly address the elephant in the room. This thing is classified as an Elder Dragon, but at the same time, it looks nothing like what a dragon should be. Why is that? Well, you see, it is precisely because of its bizarre physiology that it is designated as an Elder Dragon. Remember now, the title of Elder Dragon is merely a classification for monsters that doesn't fit any other designation. This effectively means that the more abnormal they are, the more likely they are to be inducted as an Elder Dragon. This can range from body shapes and sizes, intelligence, to the sheer power they hold and their effect on their ecosystem. The people of the Monster Hunter world already had a clear-cut definition of what a wyvern, leviathan, or fanged beast should be, but to them, A dragon is something else. But like with everything else we don't understand, we tend to study them more. But it didn't help that not only are they just that rare, but also how dangerous it is to even try to conduct any research on them. The black dragons are prime example of this, to such an extent that any sort of relevant information available regarding the matter are actually passed down only in the form of stories and legends, about how an entire kingdom was brought down in a single night by a dragon clothed in black. Many hunters and researchers had been sent after it in a vain attempt to study it, but none have ever returned. It's called the Fatalis, named after the event which brought down the kingdom of Charade. So in the end, the classification of elder dragons doesn't necessarily require the creature to resemble a dragon at all. In fact, the more unique or the more unexplainable and bizarre the creature were, the more likely it is for them to be included into the class. They also doesn't necessarily have to be all-powerful, or else both the Akantor and Ukanlos will have been included just for the sheer power they hold, enough to be called gods by the people of Poke Village. The main example for this being the Kirin, an elder dragon introduced way back from the very first Monster Hunter game. Even with its title of being an elder dragon and its masterful control over the lightning element, it doesn't save it from being the natural prey of the Rajang from the Pelagus species. But while power isn't exactly a requirement, it surely is a necessity for them to survive that long. Plenty of elder dragons are expected to have lived through countless centuries, to be so old that they had probably witnessed the cycle of mankind repeat time and time again. And so, that's what the elder dragons are, an existence so bizarre and old that the guild felt that they required a special classification just for them. Strong enough to move mountains and old enough to remember the atrocities of mankind, yet they were able to somehow respect each other's strength and acknowledge their way of living, showing that deep down, they aren't just simply mindless beasts after all.